Hey everybody, good morning. Back to normal today. Back to normal. Glad you can spend your morning with me. Glad to see everybody. And if you want to be a chatter and be a subscriber, click the button over here. If you want to chat on the live stream with us, if I'm no longer live, like the live stream chat's only active while I'm live. If I'm no longer live, you're gonna have to leave a comment down below. I'll do my best to get back to you. And yesterday, did we get a taper tantrum? Was that what was going on? Possibly. Um, it's been my narrative that they should have never started this like rate cut talk. I mean, they should have never started that crap. Let's be honest. Like that's just it's almost I have a really hard time with it. They rate cuts are not bullish for the market. All right, they may be bullish for spending or whatever, but the way the economy works, they do rate raises when the economy's smoking hot, red hot, everything's going higher. They do rate cuts when everything's coming apart and they're trying to salvage the pieces. There's no like we do rate cuts when everything's just fine. That that doesn't happen, all right? It may be the narrative, but it doesn't happen. It's just not part of the way they operate this thing. It's just not. And Jerome Powell coming in yesterday talking about the sticky inflation, and I mean, I just now right here, FOMC leaves the rate unchanged, says bigger than expected QT taper to start in June. I think so leaving rates unchanged, that was kind of like, oh great, not doing anything, and but that taper, that that's a problem right there. Now, what is the only real correlation I found in the market? Does anybody remember? Anybody remember? Anybody remember what the one big correlation I found in the market is? You can throw it in the chat. Now, I'll circle back to that in just a second. Let's jump over to this right here. This is funny too. Bitcoin halving 2024. And yeah, well, yeah, of course, like the spot ETFs did that same sort of move too. It's not unexpected for me. I thought we were going to get a pullback. I thought we were going to do that on Bitcoin, and there was epic bearishness on Bitcoin yesterday. Holy moly. I tell you what, all the message boards I kind of follow and keep my thumb on for crypto, people turning really, really bearish on crypto. Predictions for it to go back down to 16,000. I mean, are you kidding me right now? It's just a little bit of like having's the starting line. Having was not that's not the finish line. It's not like we're taking off from here. This thing usually takes 12 to 18 months to get going. And I just that bearishness just drove me a little crazy. And it looks like, yeah, Laura, global. You got to add global liquidity. So it's global central bank liquidity is 98% correlated to how the U.S. markets do. Global central bank liquidity. So if they're doing tapering, that's taking liquidity out of the market. And was that right there part of that taper tantrum, if you will? Quite possibly. Quite possibly. So it may have been like, oh, everything's cool. Oh, wait. He said they're going to taper faster than, and that's going to start in June. And it's now May. So now, look at the price patterns. This is what I do, right? I analyze price patterns, and because I'm a technical analyst primarily, I do know a lot about fundamental analysis and stuff like that. That when the whole story comes together, that's usually when I have a big long-term, big picture target and trade going on. Right here, we had an A, basically. We had a B right here, and we probably had a C right now. That looks like some sort of three-wave thing. And that was very, very proportional rolling into the FOMC meeting. We came out right in there. Right in there. Just a shade bit, just missed the 100%. Then we did this pullback. Now, the interesting thing that happened here on that pullback, this low, this high, look at where we stopped. We came up, we did a 618 retrace. Then we did this. Then we did that. This is very curious on the price action. And maybe maybe you need me to clean it up just a tad. Let's just pop over here on a nice, relatively clean chart and start again really quickly. Let's just turn that off for now. So you've got the 3 moves. Yeah, right. Same price action right there. S&P 500. Now, this move up off the low to that high, we came and found support right at the 618, right here, right there. We turned higher. Now, the curious part of this, to me, we turned back down at the 618. Held a higher low into the close. That's the only saving grace that we had yesterday. Otherwise, this was a setup for an accelerated decline. And still, today, if we get below this low from yesterday, before the FOMC, this can result in an accelerated decline lower very quickly. This is I told you that the next couple of days were going to be very, very imperative for the market to clarify which direction we're going to go. And right now, we had a potential bounce up, we had a potential bounce right back down. Now I guess you could say the zones are very defined here at this point. Very defined. All right. Likely we're going higher, at least in the short term. 5150 is still that bigger resistance that we're going to have to get through. 5150 up to about 5200. Right in here. Like if we're going higher, we have to bust through that. If we pop up here on another move, stop in this zone even at the top, start back down, get below this stuff, get below this stuff. This is like your first warning sign, second warning sign. Then we're probably coming on down pretty hard. Hey, Kimberly making it from her trip in Texas. My favorite subscriber. Glad to have you, my dear. So, be careful is what I gotta say today. And for the next, until this gets cleaned up. Now, do they clean it up to the downside or do they clean it up to the upside? There's not a high probability here. Now, global liquidity is pretty epically high, so we may have more gas in the tank for going higher. There's a lot of issues, like the taper potential that, goodness gracious, somebody needed a muffler. Lots of potential for things to start coming apart. There's a lot of cracks in the armor, if you will. And how could it go down any more in an election year? Hey, elections don't really have squat to do with the patterns. Like that's the whole thing. Like people think, oh, all this fundamental stuff, these events that we know about, we love to put stories to things. None of it matters if you can decouple the price action from the narratives that get pushed, especially in mainstream media. Elections don't matter squat. It doesn't matter who's sitting at the chair for the market. It really doesn't. What matters is global liquidity. That's the only thing that seems to be 98% correlated over a long period of time to how the stock market does. So when global liquidity tightens, we go down. When global liquidity expands, we go up. Simple as that. That's the only piece of fundamental kind of data that has correlation to the stock market. As far as how we make money as traders, it's right here in the price patterns. Right here. In the short term, that global liquidity is a very macroeconomic concept. If you're not familiar with what macroeconomic concept means, maybe spend some time Googling it, maybe on Investopedia. It has to do with the big picture stuff. And then we have microeconomic forces that are, inside countries and very small things. And then we have trading, which is what I do. We like to think all these things are interrelated, but trading kind of stands alone. Yeah, it has there's some cause and effect that comes in, sprinkled in, and it really depends on your time frame. Are you swing trading? If you plan to be in and out of a trade in a couple days, a couple weeks, even a couple months, the economic stuff doesn't matter a hill of beans to what you're doing. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, that's why, I'm always telling people, you know, Goose was a victim of this. He was like, I'm going to do this trade. It's going to be like, I think I'm going to be in it for like 6 months. And then he was like, oh my gosh. I was like, what chart are you watching? He's like, a 2-minute chart. I was like, why the heck are you watching a 2-minute chart for something you plan on doing for 6 months? Like, that just didn't make sense to me one bit. And, Goose will comment about this too. It's I see people all the time. They're like, oh my gosh, something's crashing. And it's like, a prime example, we did a trade on McDonald's this week in my VIP group. And gosh, what day was it? Yesterday? Day before yesterday? Anyway, there was a crazy, I guess it was no, let's see. It was the 30th. Yeah, the day before jury duty. Jury duty's got me all blended up here. This day, this triggered off a trade in one of my experimental systems right here. And then it came right back down. And then one individual, I'm not going to name names, was freaking out. Like, oh my gosh, it was a bloodbath, blah, 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 round trip. It just sweating. And I was like, okay, first off, we traded off a 30-minute time frame. And secondly, if you look at the daily, like, there wasn't anything, like nothing even happened. So you really have to keep in mind your time frame. Like, don't mess around on the 1-minute chart if you're doing something that's you plan on being in for 3 months. I mean, look at that. That could be some crazy, scary stuff right there. Like, but you zoom out in the daily, and that's just like normal choppy price action for McDonald's. So please keep in mind your time frame. I mean, like this, if you're going to pay attention to the economy and things Biden's doing and saying and the election and all these things, like, you probably should be like on a weekly chart, maybe even a monthly chart. Make your decisions here. All right? Don't make your decisions about something on a 1-minute chart when you're looking for something to happen way on out. So, anyway, yeah, Kimberly yesterday got recognized by one of the followers out there. Maybe it was you, and called her out, called her the boss, called her my name, and so she got recognized out in public before I did. That was it's kind of funny. Anyway, I'm just throwing it out there. Like, don't get caught up in micro time frames when you're trying to do a big picture trade. Like this on McDonald's looks like we're probably going to pop up and head back to the top of this channel. Like, if you're going to trade for that, don't sweat stuff coming down here unless we break out below the channel. Like, seriously. Like, you got to be able to control your risk. If the risk, like, if you're getting in here and you're like, oh, I can't survive, I moved down to here, don't trade that stock. Like, don't trade that. Like, go look for something else. I'm serious, like 100% serious. I see people all the time like, well, I really want to take advantage of that move up here, but I can't withstand a move down in here. Well, on the weekly chart, that's what you're going to have to sustain if you're going to try to go for the bigger picture right there. All right. It's all about time frame, all about, what's your big picture guess? And this would be a macro type trade where you would want to look at how McDonald's is doing over the long term. If you're going to be in it for 3 to 5 years. All right. Somebody asked me the other day, like, do you ever look at fundamental analysis? Yes. Yeah. When I'm in a trade for 3, 5, 10 years, I consider how the company thinks they're going to be doing. Over, if anything less than a year, probably don't care squat on what they're planning to do. All right. It's more about price patterns at that time frame. Now, between 1 and 3 years, it's a gray area. Like, there's some things that a company does that could affect the trade in a 1 to 3 year time frame. Now, so it's really about perspective and what you're trying to do in the markets. If you're trying to be a trader, you're trying to get in, get out, get your piece, move on. I love doing that. That's kind of what I do. Trend pullback continuation, trader. Look for my pattern. Get in, get out, move on. Let's keep it in perspective here, okay? So S&P opening a little higher, not too shabby. Looking at the ES overnight action there. This is the S&P 500 futures. If you're unfamiliar, this is on TradingView. If you don't know how to pull this up, and drifting back higher. We go off the high, go off the low. This price action a little bit different. It's kind of like a heartbeat in there, like whoop whoop boop. You know, the price, we were already coming off of the lows. We did accelerated heartbeat, and then we're coming on up. We're gonna have to get above this 618 to indicate that we're going higher, possibly up to the 5150 area. And funny enough, it's kind of the same area on futures and on the cash index. This futures zone extends from about 5150 all the way up to about 5225-ish. And that's what we got. Like, that's the upside resistance, downside support, those lows off of the price action right there yesterday. All right, break above this high here that we made yesterday, that spike high, kind of signals we're probably going to go a little bit higher, maybe into this upside resistance. NQ, NASDAQ. This is NASDAQ futures. If you're unfamiliar, like QQQ, maybe the ticker you know. ES, SPY, SPX. Those may be the tickers you know. Right here, more of the same chart pattern right there. What are we looking for on NQ? Got that high, got that low. Delete these over here. Right up into the 618. Retrace. Smaller time frame here, smaller picture, smaller retrace. That little guy. Got to break up through that 618 to try to get the extension. And we need a heck of extension to keep on trucking. Got to get above there, got to go above there. This is a nested type pattern at this point. We moved up, hit the 618, retraced, held a higher low, moving up again, break this 618, break that 618, break that prior high, probably signaling we're going on up here into this resistance zone. Resistance zone on NASDAQ, NQ, NASDAQ futures, 18,000 up to about roughly 18.3. And if we're going up, if we're going down, roadmap line on the daily is the support for both ES and for NQ. Roadmap line down here, hanging out about 17,000. ES, roadmap line down here, hanging out about 48.75. Russell here, a little bit more chaotic here. This is, that's back tested the roadmap line twice. A whole different pattern here. We rejected going below it right there. A little bit different story going on Russell here. We actually hit the roadmap line, pushed below it, rejected back into it. So you got like the inverted croquet hammer with a twist, with a back flip, whatever you want to call it. And then we moved up, did an initial move up, retraced, rejected again pretty strongly, moved up again, came back, retraced, retested the roadmap line one more time with a three higher lows here. 1, 2, and 3 right there. This can indicate we're going on up here. If we get above this resistance, we could possibly go for a new high on Russell. Maybe like, what the heck is even Russell? Russell 2000, IWM would be a way to trade this. If you're unfamiliar with what Russell is. Why do I watch ES, NQ, Russell? S&P 500, that's like the broad swath of the market. 500 stocks, right? Some of the most liquid 500 stocks out there, just a broad swath. NASDAQ is the top 100. That's like, out of the last 15 years, it's been up 14 of those years. All right, that's like the best of the best stuff right there. So you watch your top performers in the NASDAQ, you watch your broad swath of the market, and then these are the small caps. These are little companies. They can make decisions faster, and it's kind of like, what is the pulse of the economy in the small players? You always hear that 90% of the economy is small business. Well, these are smaller companies, not necessarily small business, but smaller companies. There's only like 1,800 of them really in the index, but they call it the Russell 2000. And when we zoom out and look at this thing for the last couple of years, it's still not doing so great. You know, NASDAQ and S&P pushing all-time highs. This one, not really doing that. So this is another economic indicator to me. Longer term, something's up in the market. All right, the engine of America, as they call it, the smaller businesses, not really functioning here. All right, we're not pushing all-time highs. This is not the rosy picture. There's a lot of people that work here, right? A lot of people feeling this. All right, this is, you know, a much bigger index than, as far as number of companies involved, than S&P or NASDAQ, and we're seeing it kind of just being lackluster. I do kind of think that we could develop something much more sinister to the downside here on Russell if we don't get the act together and get this funk worked out here that we're in right now. So it's about time frame again. On the small picture, you know, a few days here, maybe go retest this. If we don't break above that, probably going to set up something more sinister on that weekly chart going on further down for the next couple of years. CL, look at that. Right into the target zone. Right there. Now, I did a FOMC live yesterday afternoon. I was in jury duty in the morning. Just kind of sitting in a room, and then we had to go in the courtroom, and then everybody's like, they were like, turn off everything. So I couldn't update anything. But right there, that's downside support. That's the next downside support if we get below this. Right now, it's just a spike below the roadmap line. We did an initial attempt to pop back above on that daily. Initial attempt, getting the retrace now. Looks like we may flush a little bit lower. Try to clean this baby up. That can be it. That could be it. That I don't know how many days I talked about that we were probably going to come back down here, possibly. We made it. We made it in a three-way fashion. If the first move down and the second move down are proportional, we'll push down into this 77, 78 area right down here. That's where this move down and that move down reach equality right down there. It doesn't have to be equality time-wise, just price movement-wise. That can be a support zone right there. If we do that and turn higher, indicates we're probably going on up higher, maybe taking the trip up to 150. We're probably going to go retest at least 100 if we do that. Probably going to come back up here to the 618, up here around 100, 105 area, right up here. I don't care what kind of strategic petroleum reserve releases, whatever doing, they can say they want to do all they want. But right now it's on the chart. We're quite possibly going to make a rally. At this point, we just it cleaned up this channel we have back to low, 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 and this low. Holding this would be bullish. If we get below this, more than just a spike out and reverse, it can lead to a lower low than we had all the way back here in December of last year, 2023. So we could get a big flush out in oil if that develops something more deeply here. Gold. Dun, 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 dun. Well, it looked like we were going to get a reversal off this, but now pushing deeper into the down today. I'd like, that's 3 days we've held that 1272. And that's where this initial move down that was like very fast, this retrace, and then right there, that push. Now we've kind of developed this into a little bit sloppy price action. And that's off of this high right here. I'm talking about like this high. This price action has become a little bit sloppy. That gives me a pause to doing anything until something cleans up. Like this pattern has become a little bit unclear as far as what the intention of gold is. We may flush on down to that 2258 area, which would actually align with my expectation for GLD, which was a retrace back down in this 208, 210 area right down here. I really want to buy a long-term position, restock my long-term position that I had for a move up to like 300. And that's possibly going to take us out to 26, 27 to get up to that 300 area on GLD. You may be like, wait a minute. If you're in 200, you're going to 300. That's 50% gain. Yeah, we're talking 50% gain on gold. So that's long-term bullishness potential. That big picture target potentially all the way up there at 300, but maybe not till like 27, possibly even 28. So it could be a while. So make sure you have your time frame in mind. All right. And then if you get in a trade like that, don't sweat it if we dip down to 207. All right. Like you be like, JT, you were wrong. It's not going up 300. It's like, okay, you're talking about something that's happening in days when I'm talking about something that's happening in years. Like, don't sweat small moves and dropping from 210 to 208 or 208 to 207, something like that that's a small move compared to going up to 300. All right. So please keep your time frame, keep everything in mind if you're going to do one of these trades that I talk about where I'm like big picture, long time frame bullish. Now, Bitcoin. Everybody's sweating this one too. Like I said, we had that rocket ship I showed a minute ago. See if I can find it again. I may have closed it. I did close it. That rocket ship going, the space shuttle upside down. Bitcoin halving. I mean, it was always in the potential here that we dip down to the roadmap line after halving. I don't know how many times I said it. I mean, I drew it on here a bunch of times, even all the way back down to this 30,000 area. I drew it. It's been the potential, and I drew it out past halving for a reason, because I kind of expected the big pullback to happen after halving, because we had that spot ETF launch here in January, and it really propelled us to new all-time highs. Then we've kind of got this choppy corrective thing going on, and we could, in fact, flush on down. Now, what we did do, though, let's just go to a clean chart real quick. Grab the all-time history. Nice clean chart. Look, even on the weekly, we don't even have to go down huge time frame, like down to the small time frames here. This move down, 2 candles. This move up, 3 candles. And this move down, tag the 1272. That's a standard correction off of that high right there. A very standard correction off of this high right here. 1, 2, 3. That's a very, very common, very simple correction. Very proportional. Nothing's even broken. Nothing's even like got me cause for concern at this point. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. That's a very, 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 very standard proportion. Anybody that's listened to me for very long, that 1272, very common. We see those extensions where the first move down, or the first correction piece, and we get the 1272 extension of that second correction piece right there. Now, how do we know the difference between this is a new trend kicking off? This is going to extend on down the 1618, get a correction that holds a lower high, and then we're going to go on down. And then we'll do a 3-wave retrace, and then it'll develop from there. So that's really the tell. If we stop in this zone up here on a correction, correction can be up, correction can be down, doesn't matter. On a correction of a trend, which we had a trend, this is correction of the trend. Stopping at the 100 to 1272 is standard. If we get to the 1618, it really muddies it up, because that starts to look like the potential, the excitement that we see in new trends. So if we get to that 1618, that could be a new trend in Bitcoin, and we may head on down to the daily roadmap line, or even down to that 30,000 zone. So that's kind of the tell. If we stop here and we start reversing, breaking back up above this high right in here, these 2-week high right here, back above that 67 area, things are looking pretty positive. We're going to go, get another extension higher. Right now, that high, that low, it puts us up there, 77, 78,000. 84,000 above that. Break it, like I said, breaking above that zone right there is what's going to put us there. Big picture, Bitcoin, I still expect triple digits. Typically, Bitcoin on after the halving will do 10 to 20x whatever the low was. The low right back down here, 150, I think it was 157,000 if I actually click on the actual thing. And I mean 15,700, excuse me, 15,700. 10x of that would be 157,000, 20x of that 130, what was it, 132,000, 134,000, all the way up here. I mean 320,000, excuse me. Do my math. 300. So 150 to 300,000 is the target area up there. I'm talking faster than my math, than my calculator is working in my brain there. So big picture, still got way far to go. This is like one of those macro. Don't get caught up in what it's doing on the daily chart or even the 30-minute chart if you're trading for the macro 150,000, right? Get your head in the game. If we got in back down here, like I loaded up a lot of positions down in this zone when we're reversing off the lows, this stuff up here doesn't bother me one bit. Like, don't even sweat it a little bit. Even if we were to come further down, not going to sweat it. I mean, we're so close to tagging that daily roadmap line. It's almost a shame if we don't tag it. Almost a shame. So freaking close right there. All right. Ethereum looking a little more bearish. Made a lower low. This is kind of starting to indicate we've got a new trend going. And that whole thing I was talking about a minute ago. Got a 3-wave down, a little bit of retrace, and the proportions are starting to get a little bit out of kilter here in some of these smaller moves. But we can still push down here and keep the bigger, that first move, that retrace, that big move. We can even push down to this 2400 and still keep that bigger move intact on the weekly chart here. It doesn't even show up as many weeks here, but that dip, that retrace, this dip, we could even push it down to here and still keep this correction intact and go higher. Keep your time frame in mind, all right? Dollar, still consolidating right here and still looks like we need a pop. MSTR was on the biggest movers list and it's quickly fading back off, and it's almost a shame if that doesn't touch the roadmap line at this point. CVNA, big pop. Whew. Didn't really expect that. I was expecting more of the roadmap line. But run the fibs, low to high, up at the 1618. Probably going to retrace, at least back test that 95 area. Probably this likely what it's likely to do. 143, 160 on the upside. AVGO probably coming on down. ASML. The list was pretty long today, and I've been just going and going here. So I'm going to start hitting some pretty quickly, see what we got moving. Where the opportunity might be, ASML, lower probably, even though it's popping today. I'll do all the poppers first. SMCI, probably going for the roadmap line at the minimum. If we get below that, probably coming down here. Big picture, NVIDIA. Turn down the 1618. Watch out. FNGU. Turn down to the 618. Watch out. Could go lower. That one. And the target could be right down in this area, right around 207 to 227 at this point. QCOM. Yeah, nice pop on earnings. Beating on the top, beating on the bottom. All right, that's your tell right there. QCOM is like one of the bigger suppliers for Apple. QCOM banging right here is your tell that Apple may in fact surprise us tonight when they report earnings. This is the tell that something could go down. Now, am I going to bet on it? I don't know. That chart looks like it really wants to finish this move. That's really choppy, overlapping. These highs are overlapping these lows over and over and over and over, even over here. It looks like it needs one big flush, but that made a lower low than back here. That could be done. Like this, this low right here could have been the last move. And this is the initial move up and a retrace. And then we blast off. So even though this looks like it could go lower, this could be the start of the reversal here. Could. Doesn't have to be. We could get one more flush. But this lowest low right here, that was lower than anything we've done since we did the high back here. That can wrap it up right there. And we tagged the 100%. Like that made this equality thing. Like this move down, this move down. That correction can be done. This could be the initial move instead of, this is one of those like fine points here where a lower low can clean this up. That could be done. So this could be a new trend starting off right here. And QCOM blowing up on earnings is kind of maybe a tell that we might see Apple outperform on their earnings. So definitely interesting. Car, well, tag the 1272. Time to go retest the roadmap line. That would be my next expectation. Roadmap line, or just retest the 100% and then push on lower, but that lower is down at 56 at this point. BPMC, Blueprint Medicines, I'm not even going to talk about it. It's a biotech. Not even going to talk about it. W. That's probably just going to consolidate in this triangle bullcrap thing. Bullshirt. Bunch of bullshirt price action. Overlappy in this triangle thing. Don't like it. CRWD. Zoom it back up. Zoom her up, Buttercup. Looks like we want to reach down to the roadmap line. This also has me a little concerned that we may see a final flush out in the market because there's still several things that didn't touch the roadmap line. Coin, another one that could use a little final flush out. And that has held up really well compared to the pullback in Bitcoin. Airbnb position is now 0 because it stopped out. CTS popping, reaching on up. Nice pop. Nice pop on the 30-minute. Jumping back up to the daily. And it's just kind of sideways with a downward slant. All about time frame. Looks awesome on a 30-minute. When you zoom up to the daily, not so great. It's biotech pharma too. LETH, resistance, key resistance to get above that gap down, and the 618 all lining up right there. And that's a 3-wave move right now. Like this has me concerned. That move up, that retrace, that move up puts us right at the 100%, right at that resistance. If we turn down there, may make a lower low on LENTH. Another medical right there. Bye, Kimberly. And HWM. Ooh, wow. That might be played out. Right there. PANW. Cannot break out of this consolidation. Good grief, man. So got the move down off the high. That was on the last earnings. This earnings coming up here in about 3 more weeks. Just consolidating. Like we dropped, moved up, couldn't do it. Moved up, lower high. Can't break out of this consolidation. That may be where we're heading. I have like 5 shares of this just sitting on them that I bought on the hold of a higher low here, and it's still a higher low, and we may flush it down. If we do, I'll probably still hold on to them for the bigger potential pop. If we get a lower low, it's going to pull this on down, just adjust all the levels slightly. But right now, that's what we got. Potential upside 413, but it's got to start being bullish. Got to quit just messing around here. LABU, a 3x. Biotech, back testing the trend line from the bottom. That can result in a breakdown below this support right here, this support box. And if we get that, we could be heading on down pretty viciously on LABU. Aspen, Aerogel. Spin Aerogel. What a. It's like 23 the upside target. Snow. I still expect this one to drop on down. May happen on earnings this time. This is one like fundamentally and you know, just technology wise, I believe this company probably has something that's going to be very valuable. Stock chart wise, this looks like we're probably coming down to this area right down here around 100 before we find support. Like it needs, like this was a corrective type move. 1, 2, 3, 4, overlappy, and we may need a final flush out. Could go down to 90, could go all the way down to 68. If it does, then I'm going to be looking for an entry, a long-term entry, because this thing has amazingly huge upside potential. And I don't even really have it drawn on the chart at this point, what kind of upside potential there could be. So we could be talking, yeah, this is just a conservative estimate here. This would be a conservative estimate. We could be talking a move up to 650, possibly 1100 up here. And that's conservative. Yeah. So if you could pick up something that was maybe at 90 bucks, that was going to 1100 bucks, just on shares, that's a pretty smoking potential right there. But it's not there yet. It's not set up. It's not cleaned up. This is a corrective, overlappy garbage pattern right here that I don't want to get involved in. And it's not likely to go higher yet. And we're holding that a little bit of support, but we're probably going to break down and probably go lower. Would I trade for that? I'm not. It's not certain. It's not given that we're going to do that. It's just, it fixes the chart and sets up the bigger potential. Otherwise, we're just going to keep chopping in this garbage for who knows how long. Estee Lauder. This has been a mover and a shaker. Unfortunately, the mover was down to support. Make sure I got the fib in the right spot. Nope, right there. Potential for this to hold right there. That's support and that's resistance, and we're kind of holding support and holding below resistance and just caught in between. No high probability anything yet, but that was a three-wave type move up. If we break down below this support zone, probably coming on down to 90 on Estee Lauder. PDD is going for it. If it can break above that 618, take us up to 157, possibly 169 on PDD. TM looks like she's on the way down to the roadmap line on the daily. USD, semiconductor ETF, Ultra. That Ultra means leverage. Be careful on leverage. Right there. And may result in a retrace. Fully touch the roadmap line. We came up a little shy last time on the trip down there a few days ago. IAC is just kind of hanging at the roadmap line. Downtrend. Don't like it. AMAT. Looks like that's reaching down for the roadmap line. SMH. And wants to reach down for the roadmap line. If you want the roadmap line, click the button, the more button underneath the description, expand the description of the video. I have a link. It's like $5. You can get that line. Easy button. Put it right on your trading view chart. And I also send you like a watch list for like 3 months. And then there's the option to upgrade for another 12 months. You get like 15 months for like $25, I think, or maybe it's $20. I don't know. It's probably underpriced. It's an epically good deal. I use this line for pretty much every pattern, every system is touched by this in some way. There's another alert. Entry, unveil. Entry potential. Let's just show it off. So this is probably going to be the setup here. It's a 30-minute. These are 30-minute setups I have that kick off here right now. Potential pop up there. That was a close above the 618. Statistics. Oh, I removed it off the chart. There we go. And the statistics say 86% of the time we're going to hit the 1272. It usually takes about 69 bars, so it could take a little while. That's 69 30-minute bars to get right up there. It's not a long way. Not a huge upside. Wasn't a huge pullback. This one may go faster, and it may fail. It's 14% of the time it fails. What does fail mean? Means $1 below this low right here. So $1 below that low would put us down to 11. That's a long way down. You can say, well, that's distorted. Well, that's the way that's the way this thing works. So use the same stop on everything. It's just $1 below the low. For and the profit factor being positive means that more often than not, it makes money. Gains and losses combined makes money on the whole. So anyway, positive being over 1. 1 is like the cutoff. It's below 1, it loses money on average. Above 1, that's based on 43 trades. So not too shabby. All right, back to what we were talking about. MGM. Close this. MGM. I gotta turn that off because it's gonna be distracting. Rejected. Move down. 618 retrace. Oh, look at this. That was a higher high. We have a potential measured bounce. These don't show up all the time. That measured bounce right there has the potential to take MGM up to the 54 to 60 area, even if this is corrective. Like, why do I go for, like I talk about this 3-wave corrective thing. Like, if this is part of a 3-wave corrective, so that's just my default assumption right here. That move up, 5 waves. We did the correction. This next move up off the low can put us right to the 100%. Like, even if it's corrective, when we go to the 1272, that's 60. If we do something more bullish, it's going to be 67 up here. Now, does it have to do that? No, it can fail. It can do a 618 retrace here, hold that, turn down, and just bust the pattern. Pop up here, turn down, and go lower, and could go down to 30, possibly 25. If it was a sure bet, we'd all be rich. All right. All I can do is point out the high probability patterns. This is one of those, but I don't like those 2 big red candles. I have to say, I don't like those 2 big red candles right there at the moment. I would want to see some green, strong green candles on a reversal. Big red candles are not, especially ones that pop up and push lower, gap up and close lower. That's like the wrong color candle on the way up. So FUTU, hanging in here, trying to break out, but not doing a great job. 81 on the upside if it can. This is very overlapping price action. SWTX, biotech, bounced off the roadmap line. Potential to go higher, but I don't know. Sitting at the 618, gotta get above that. 58.64 on the upside. Baidu, it's getting close to testing the upside resistance. If we can break above that roadmap line, get above that prior high consolidation over here. Looks like we have this set up to go test these higher areas, and maybe, just maybe, work on the bigger target here, all the way up here in the 300 area on Baidu. My big picture target. I'm already long on this one in a synthetic stock position. ENPH, looks like we're going to turn down and go down to the 63 area down here. Tesla, still working on the retrace here. Probably going to retrace back down into this 170 area before we can work on the breakout through the roadmap line. That would be my guess. The average run after earnings lasts about 13 days, 13 trading days. That could have been it for this move. We could retrace it, and that could have been the initial pop. Now, it could pop more, but that could have been it. And the pop, post-earnings pop is done for now. It consolidates and works on doing something different. WRK, popping on up. No great upside target at this point. That's just kind of pushing extensions. Could do a little baby retrace, but it's already pushing extensions on 51. TTD, trade desk, so choppy. Earnings coming up next week. Yeah, next week. CWB, I'd say leverage China bulls, potentially trying to break above the roadmap line. We got a lot of resistance to get up through. Not convinced yet. And that's leverage, so be careful. Not really following that one much either. Apple, already touched on it. The potential here, and QCOM could be the tell that this thing's going to do something crazy after earnings. QCOM has, for a long time, been one of the major cell phone chip suppliers for Apple. SPXL. This is leverage on the 3x leverage on the S&P 500 right here. If you think we're going up, possibly an opportunity. If you think we're going down, possibly an opportunity for a short, I guess. Net, looks like we're going to try for the roadmap line one more time. Maybe hold a slightly higher low. Spit the words out. IWM, looks like we're retracing that one back off. And the gap up, maybe I may have missed the play there today. XLK, yeah, holding the roadmap line. Potential here. That high, that low. We can reverse, get above the 618. And look at the stats on this one. 76%, 77% of the time. Profit factor, 37 trading days usually takes. If we break above here to get up here. Not too bad. Not too shabby. TECL, finding support at the roadmap line. That's a bull on technology. 3x leverage. Amazon, maybe break out here. Like we're trying really darn hard to hold above that 618, which puts us 196 on the upside. KMX, golly, my nose itches. Oh, believe. CarMax, boy, that's a different story than Carvana right there. CarMax obviously struggling a little bit, coming back down after glancing off the resistance, back into support. Can we hold it? If we get below it, probably going down here to 42. DPST, stuck. Regional banks, stuck under the roadmap line. This is a leveraged, so this is amplifying the move and doesn't look bullish. There was another bank that went bankrupt this weekend. It was like First State Republic or First Republic State of Philadelphia or something like that. FDIC took over another bank. Banking problem's not done yet. And you know what's funny is that the term fund lending program that ended in March, it hasn't, like, there's been nothing paid off on that yet. They're just sitting there holding that money. I think it's interesting. Like, that money has not been paid off one bit. It's still sitting there at the amount where they closed new borrowing from it. It's just been sitting there right at that amount. There's net firing off. Probably stopped out. Yep, that one stopped out. And KMX, DPST, ARM. Going down to the target. One of these days, we're probably going to be back down here on ARM. BitX touching the roadmap line on the daily yesterday. Can we bounce here? Or are we going to go just a little deeper? That is the question. AIG. BitX is just 2x leverage Bitcoin. So if you want leverage on a Bitcoin position, there's the roadmap line that I said we may get to. We got there. AIG. Insurance has been interesting. It's like a story of haves and have-nots. The insurance companies that are doing poorly are just getting beat to crap. And the ones that seem to be rocking it, like 81 and 83 on the upside for AIG. Yin, 3x bulls. That's a leverage potential breaking out for the first time in a good long while for China bulls. And might be able to do something here. Square, getting slammed back below the roadmap line. Is that the low? If we can reverse it back above this stuff, back above that 618, potential to 94. But if we don't, watch out below. A-Lab, not enough candles to do anything. BABA is working on breaking above the roadmap line. Working on it. I should pull up that. I got to pull that resistance up just a hair. Capture all those candles. Do you have the gap down right there that we left hanging open right above us? That'll be a resistance also. But this could be the reversal on BABA. Do have earnings coming up here in about 2 weeks. FLUT. Possibly going to hold and turn higher here. Back above this, gap down, can take us higher up to 2040. 240. VRT looks like it's working on finding the top here. Tops are processed. It may roll over, come back to the roadmap line, recharge. Dell was a popper, now a dropper. Probably wants to come back to the roadmap line. Also, LAN right in the roadmap line. That can be support. Potential if we break back above this 452 to go up to 495, possibly 519. PWR. Looks like that wants to come back to the roadmap line also. Right down there. Etsy. Oh, probably not too good on earnings there. Oh, in line. It shows a miss on the top, but that's like to the third decimal place, so that's basically in line. And that would be basically in line. So in line and almost making it to the target at 51, 52 area down there. DoorDash, right to the roadmap line. Golly, sometimes I get lucky on these calls. If we can break back above that, 130, possibly 150 on the upside. Yeah, right on it. Right on it. Didn't get that one yet. Didn't get that one yet. Right on it. And, well, didn't update it, but pretty much tagging it. That high, that low. Break above that. Going up. Fresh works. Ooh, that looks pretty bad, actually. That high, or that low, that high. Maybe heading down to $10. Down here. First, fastly. Probably coming on down. SWK, Stanley Black & Decker. This is like, reminds me of the snow pattern. We get below this right here. This all looks very corrective and overlapping. Up, retrace. Boom. I could take it down to 62 down here. Ultimately. S-Bit. That's an ultra short Bitcoin. Popping. RELY. Right down at the targets. 13 below us. Wolf. Down at the extension. Let's do the next move. 20 on the next move down. Z. Zillow. Oh. Maybe going for something more bearish. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, wrongermer. Uh-oh. So we're at the line in the sand here. Get below that. Probably doing that. And there's the other ticker for Zillow. Same story. eBay. Probably coming back down to the roadmap line. And that's the list. Only took forever. Anyway, bias for the day is... I kind of outlined that early there. Right here. Fairly... Come on. All right. Gonna play that way, huh? Gonna play that way. There we go. Fairly simple. We hold above the lows from yesterday, we can potentially go higher. If we get any kind of sustained move down here, watch out below. That little spike down doesn't count as like sustained. All right, it's just a spike. And we can reverse off of that. That could be a new lower low that just kind of cleaned up this weirdness, kind of cleaned it up, set the stage, and we go higher from here. So that upside potential, 5150, 5200. Watch for that move. Breaking above here is kind of the indication we're going up there. Anything in between is just choppiness at this point. So you kind of got your zone defined here. Right in here. Right down here. If we get below this, we're going down. If we get above this, we're going up. And really, we can take a trip down to 4960 and still be heading up to that zone up there. It could just be more chop. So 4960, but we get below 4960, these lows from right back here on whatever day that was, the 19th of April, right here, these lows, get below that 19th of April low. Odds are we're going for the roadmap line at the minimum, down around 4870 on S&P 500, SPX cash index. And there you go. There you go. PD, that's why you follow me. That's why everybody follows me. I said anything you like, anything that amazed you, anything at all, interact with the video. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down, whatever it is. Interact with the video. Share with somebody if you think they might find benefit in this kind of content. I thank you all for coming today. I'll be back again tomorrow. No jury duty again tomorrow. Cleared me off for the rest of the week. Next week, a different story, different week. We'll see what happens. And I just had a 2-week period, so this week and next week. Basically made it through this week. I do have Echo Trades live at 1 p.m. for those that are in that. And I'll see you later. Have a good day. Stay safe out there. The account you save, maybe